Hello, this is Johnny Cycles with Cycles Gaming for our match 1 with our new Dimir deck for Dragons in Modern at cyclesgaming.com. Again, we're looking to fill our graveyard and get out of Murktide region as quickly as possible. We're going to keep this in. We have a way to fill our yard, we have a way to dig for the Murktide, and we have our super all-star, the Dragon Turtle. So I think we have a bit of a tough choice, right? We definitely want to play a blue source. Do we want to preordain or Thought Scour? I think the right play is probably Thought Scour, since we don't know what our opponent's doing. And we can wait and see what they're up to before we do that. Pass the turn. Go ahead and do that in response. All right. 2 lands, and we drew a Lauren review. All right, Izzet. Man, there's so many Izzet decks out there. And Ragavan. So this is one drawback of not having no Stitcher Supplier, right? Is that we no longer have a one mana 1/1 creature to block Ragavan. So now we're going to be digging for a Fatal Push. Force a negation, so lots of interaction. See if we can find that Fatal Push. There it is, plus Spell Pierce. So Izzet Murktide, they play a lot of counter magic. We currently don't have anything we really want to protect. So I think what we're going to do is put this on the bottom and this on the top. Draw it. Fetch up our Watery Grave. So one drawback here is that they may have a second Ragavan, at which point they will dash it in and hit us once. Which is not good for us. But the risk of waiting for them to untap is that they have a counter spell that they hold up, or that they'll hold up and attack first. Swing in, we try to kill it, they counter it, they still get the hit in, they still keep the Ragavan, we've wasted our whole preordain. Now looking at our graveyard, we do have its turn, when it be our turn 3, we already have 6 cards in the graveyard, 3 of which are instants. Sorry, I should just have 6 here to speed things up. So if we do a Murktide right now, we'd be in pretty good shape to cast it. 5/5 Murktide. Of course it does, die to Unholy Heat. Looks like opponent did not have a follow-up play. Now we drew our Troll. Interesting. So I think we're going to go ahead and preordain again. Murktide region is exactly what we want right now. Preordain is also really good, but we'll have to shuffle it away. So we'll put that on bottom. I'm not really sure what the industry says about fetching before you do your preordain or not. So we're going to go ahead and fetch up an island. Typically you want to get a second swamp for the Draco Lich, so we're going to have to just pay the life, get it. And now we have Force and Negation back up, which is really nice for the counter magic that's about to happen probably. Question is, how big of a Murktide do we want? 1, 2, 3, 4. That means it will be out of Unholy Heat range, which is pretty ideal. I mean, we can't even cast Force and Negation on our turn. I keep forgetting that. So here comes the counter magic. Ooh, it is not Izzet Murktide. Yep. Alright, well, they passed the test. I forgot that we can't use Force when it's our turn for free. And it's not Force of Will, folks, that's for sure. But we'll just see if we can't cobble together another Murktide region here. See what they're up to, preordain. So I think what we're going to do is play the land, probably hold up our force and negation and our dragon turtle, and use the land to cycle away probably the troll to get another land. Because we could theoretically untap, Lore and reveal, draw some cards depending on what they're up to. Are they missing land drops? They must have a handful of interaction. So we'll go ahead and fetch. And we'll get the watery grave. See what they're okay. Now we will swamp cycle the troll. Just get a basic swamp. Man, more land. What's our graveyard looking like? You know, we added Take Numa, the channel land that lets us get back a card from our graveyard. That would have been a nice land to draw there. So what do? We draw out a counterspell with a Lorien revealed? Do we save it to... Let's see what... I'm sure they have a counterspell, but at least this might get one of them out, and then if we draw a Murktide, be able to cast a Murktide without it being countered. And at this point, having another sorcery in the graveyard is good. We can theoretically cast the Murktide with Force and Negation back up here. Which is what I would have done had I remembered. Oh good, expressive iteration. So we could force it, but we lose our turtle, which is our only action currently. Now, I replaced the One Ring with a turtle. How good would the One Ring be here? Pretty good, pretty good. But Dragons in Modern, it's not Lord of the Rings in Modern, although we are playing that troll that we revealed. Alright, they get their land. Maybe they're going to dash into Ragavan. Nope, it's going to be... Their own Murktide. Well, yeah. Played mine into knowing it was a counter. That was probably a mistake, clearly. Alright, Dragon Turtle, can you hold down the fort? Can we draw our own Murktide? Nope, we're going to just keep drawing lands. So... I think we will... Oh, it hurts. It hurts to use our Force and Negation to protect our Dragon Turtle. But we really only have one instant, and we only have one sorcerer in the graveyard, no instance. So whatever, if we do draw a Murktide, it's only going to be a 4/4, which is fairly underwhelming. So we'll let them go to combat. Crack this for an island. See if they decide to counter it. Man, they have 6 cards in hand somehow. We have 2. A lot of our cards just went and got us land, and then we've just drawn lands. So, he's taking a long time. Opponent has to read this card and understand what's going on. I think if I was them, I would, and I only had one counter spell, I think I'd let it resolve, play the long game, hold up my counter magic for my follow-up play. But it is a 2-turn clock if they get this attack in. It's a tough decision for the opponent. Man, he's really in the tank. Or she. They are really in the tank on this one. Okay. It resolves. We tap down the Murktide Regent. Dragon Turtle. For the stall. That's what that is. An expressive iteration to follow up. Chain upon chain. I don't even know at this point if it's worth Force of Negation, just on the off chance. I think we have to save the forest for if we do get a Murktide region to try to keep it alive. See, land, sorcery, artifacts. So they have Delirium, Dragon's Rage, Challenger. Alright, this is where Izzet Murktide really pulls ahead of Dimir Murktide with their chief threats and their synergies. As good as Dragon Turtle is, I'm not sure he's better than a Dragon's Rage Channeler. In a Dragon deck, Izzet Murktide, does this count as a Dragon theme card enough to qualify for Dragons in Modern? I don't think so. It is on theme. How about we don't draw a land? That would be really nice, because we've drawn a lot of lands in our 21 land deck, having fetched and cycled at least one land. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I guess we milled one land. Or was it 2? We exiled some. Oh, they're just going off over there doing something. I guess holding up counter magic for some reason. What can we draw? At this point, I'm barely even paying attention to this game. I feel like we're already out of it. Is there a draw in our deck that gets us out of it? Well, Murktide for a whopping 4/4 Murktide. However, you know what adds up to 9? 4 and 5. You know what cost 5 or hits for 5? Let's go ahead and even death Draco Lich. That's what hits for 5. Get rid of a lot of these lands. And with the Dragon Turtle able to swing in next turn, that's 7. We'll see. Do I block the Channeler with 5 cards in hand? I could block, hold up Force and Negation if they have the Lightning Bolt. Petty Theft, yeah, I mean, that's a good one. And we will force it. And I'm confident that Izzet Murktide would only have one answer. They never have 2. And while these are new videos, or I'm new to the videos and you haven't heard my voice too much, hopefully you hear the sarcasm. Izzet always has that second answer. And right on schedule, here comes the Unholy Heat. Even when I had the 8/8 Murktide, they had the Lightning Bolt and the Unholy Heat. It's not just one answer they always have, it's the second one. However, Dragon Turtle should be getting in for 3, put them at 6. Maybe we draw the Even Death. Oh, they're going to dash in the Dragabond, so they'll put me to 7. I'll be dead on the swing back without something better. So yeah, this one's over, I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's a draw in my deck that gets me out of this. What do they exile? Well, that was a bad draw for me, although I'm about to shuffle it away. Or, yeah, would have shuffled it away. I wonder why they're playing green. Tarmogoyf, maybe? I've seen some decks like this with Tarmogoyf in them. That's just another chief must answer threat. Preordain. Well, let's run it out there and see what we find. If I was opponent, I would just counter it. Ooh, a Dragon Turtle. Do you see that, folks? It's another Dragon Turtle. So what we do there is use the Dragon Turtle to tap down this. They have the dash Ragavon, so I'd be going to 5. That definitely goes on the bottom. Put them to 6. I'd go to 1. And then I could theoretically swing in with both. Now the Dragon Turtle went on a tap. As powerful as that Dragon Turtle is, I don't think he's powerful enough to get me out of this. Thought Scour. Man, we drew so many lands. It would have been nice to have drawn some of our channel lands that I put in here specifically for this matchup. Now we have a full. Oh, there's a Murktide. All right, well, let's send a message with our Dragon Turtle. Might as well let him get a little bit of action in. You know, he plays such good defense. It's nice to give him a chance to play a little offense, and we concede. All right, let's go to sideboard. There it is, Even Death, Draco Lich. Man, I did not run well that game. The misplay with the Force of Negation, obviously. I mean, I knew they had a counter magic. I knew I could have kept the Preordain on top, kept the Murktide, held on to it, played the long game, which is probably what I would have done had I remembered about the Force. But, you know, mistakes were made. What can I say? All right, so subtleties are good in this matchup. Engineered explosives, I can also bring in. You know what always makes me sad is taking out the Dragon Turtle, but I'll probably have to take out the Dragon Turtle. Because I have already, this whole section is basically good. This is good. These two are good. Good. I mean, these, you know, I don't want to totally miss my land cycling, but I'll take out the trolls and we'll take out the turtles for the subtleties. So that leaves us with either engineered explosives to try to kind of clean away the board if they get a bunch of 1-drops out. Shieldred as a nice blocker and a little bit of life gain, or Shieldred's Edict to get rid of an opposing Murktide. I think that's what I'm going to go for because engineered explosives is just too slow, too easy to play around. Ragavan has dash. Shieldred's Edict will take care of a Murktide on one of these 1-drops. Okay, well, whew. 2 Murktides, 2 Fatal Pushes, and a Spell Pierce. This is where you miss. If this was a Stitcher supplier, man, maybe it was wrong to cut it. All right, I'm going to keep this, though. I will put a Delta so I can cast water, or get the Watery Grave and cast Fatal Push. Should they play a Ragavan or Dragon's Rage Channeler at this point? I don't really care what it is. If it's a 1-drop, it needs to die. Sure. All right, that was a great draw because it allows me to hold on Fatal Push and Spell Pierce while also hopefully digging for exactly that. So what we'll do is put this on the top and this on the top. Pass the turn. All right, so things are shaping up nicely for us with our 2-land hand and double Fatal Push. We are in a position to bobble, okay. Combat bobble, as you do. We played bobble in a couple of other versions of this deck. So we could go ahead and crack and not be able to play the Murktide yet without tapping all of our mana, which would not make any sense because we want to keep it alive. And we certainly don't want to empty our graveyard, so we'll pass the turn. What we're really hoping is opponent does something like Expressive Iteration, misses a land drop, we untap, draw a land, cast our Murktide, have a counterspell backup. But as I've said before, these Murktide decks that are not us, at least, tend to have 2 answers, not 1. So even if we counter the first one, they would probably have a second. Don't think we need to worry about Blood Moon in this matchup, given that there are 3 colors. There's our 4th land, so we could go for it. We could go for Murktide with Counterspell backup. But I really I'm so tired of losing to the 2nd spell from an Izzet deck that I feel like what we want to do instead is wait for a 5th land, so that we have both counter and spell pierce backup, and then should they still find an answer, we would already have. Oh, that's why they're playing green. We could counter that. We have a plan. Let's stick to the plan. We'll have 2 more instances in the graveyard for the 2nd Murktide. Let's see, what did they hit? Bobble, Unholy Heat. So that's a good one. We'd like to see Unholy Heat hit the yard, or not be able to get cast. All right, so this, do we want to counter it, and do we want to use Spell Pierce, or do we want to use Counter Spell? I think we're going to Spell Pierce. The Expressive Iteration, such a powerful card. It's one of the main reasons why Izzet Murktide is the better deck. It consistently lets you pull away in a deck full of cheap things. Oh man, they're going to go for a Flusterstorm to counter my Spell Pierce. It makes you wonder if they're really desperate for... What does it say? Alright, well... Counter the Flusterstorm, I guess? I've never actually played against Flusterstorm. I've always wondered how it worked. I mean, I could read it and understand it, but I've never seen it in action. So is that going to be a misplay? I'm not really sure. It is a misplay. Yep. All right. So what I needed to do is let the Flusterstorm resolve. Like I said, I've never played against it. And then let it counter the Spell Pierce, and then counter the Expressive Iteration with the counter spell. So live and learn. This is why I wasn't sure if I should counter it or not, because I knew there was something no good about it. Oh well, that's a second mistake, but I could either be playing this for practice and not making the video and not have anything to put up on my website and avoid these mistakes on video, or just let you see them too if you've never played against something like Flusterstorm. Now they're going to see what I'm going to draw. Very nice. All right, well, we'll see what happens if I can bounce back from that mistake, because that was a big turn of events. I lost my counter spell to protect my Murktide, and they managed to get the Expressive Iteration. So obviously it was just a waste of a spell. They know what I'm drawing. It's a Thoughtseize. So that's pretty good, at least. I can maybe know what I'm getting into there. Dress down, Expressive Iteration. Ooh, their own Murktide. Yeah, that's a lot of let's see, their Murktide is going to be slightly smaller than mine. So we'll take the Expressive Iteration, always seems to be the right play. If they want to cast so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll have a Fatal Push that we might be able to put it. So we want to go ahead and make this an 8-8 or a 7-7. Probably a 7-7. Save one of my instants and sorceries for my next turn. And if they want to go ahead and cast, they have a Veil of Summer in the sideboard, huh? See, they're going to be able to protect their Ragavan or Murktide region with, or Ledger Shredder or Ragavan with Veil of Summer from this Fatal Push that I have, unless they get greedy. And there's the Ragavan. Man, that's going to be really hard for me. To play through that Veil of Summer, that's not fun. Not fun at all. However, what we'll do is wait for our turn so they don't get to... I'm I'm going to cast the second spell anyway, but we'll see what we draw first. Stern Scolding, man, that would have been a nice draw before this. What else do they have in their hand? Nothing I can counter with a Stern Scolding, it looks like. Okay, perfect timing, deck. I think what we're going to do is they're going to Veil of Summer no matter what, so we'll Fatal Push, a Letter Shredder, force their hand a little bit. And I can't even cast the second Murktide though, because my graveyard is not that full. Again, I'm really missing Stitcher's Sublime. Maybe that was not the correct play. So we can't run this out yet. Means we don't have the mana. But what we can do is attack. And they'll probably just take it. If I was them, I'd take it knowing I get to play my own Murktide, which would be a 6/6 on the next play. Man, this is an unfortunate turn of events here with a couple mistakes that's all it takes. It's a razor's edge, fine margin for error here in Modern, especially when you're playing Jank. I have my mana open, maybe they're going to think, oh, well, he's got a counterspell. We'll do Stern Scolding on that, give us another, and that way we can make our Murktide into a 6/6. And that would make this into a 10/10. See if they run it out. I would run it out. Put me to the test. The question is, when this resolves, do they attack with just the Ragavan and the Letter Shredder? What is my best draw right now? Thought Scour, maybe? Fatal Push? Otawara? I've lost to that enough times. We couldn't do that in the Murktide region, though. We'll see how he attacks. So he's going to get no fear there. Hits me for 4 down to 10 as well. I'm going to be... There was my Shieldred's Edict. That would have been nice. Good thing they can't cast it. That would have been bad for me. Alright, something that is probably not a land. Fatal Push. And it is a land. So what we're going to do here, at least I can present lethal and force a block. 1, 2, 3, 4. And have a nice blocker on if they have the Lightning Bolt, they're on the Holy Heat. With that treasure token, I'm going to be salty. Alright, so force a block, or they die. Hope they do not have the Lightning Bolt or Unholy Heat to finish off my 10/10. Let the 6/6 either take another hit or let the 6/6 block, and hope they don't have an answer. Depends on how they attack, I guess. If they don't attack with the Letter Shredder, which they won't, if they don't have a follow-up, I imagine. What do I know about their hand? I'm not looking at my hand, so we know that's gone. Dress Down is still in hand, Veil of Summer not. Oh wow. Okay, overcame my misplay. I don't know why they would have scooped it up there. I mean, they have other draws. They could have blocked, drawn, and then hit an expressive iteration off of and get an Unholy Heat. Who knows? I mean, they could have done any number of things. Alright, well, we got a game. We tend to get a game against Izzet Murktide. Now, let's think about this. Now we know they're playing Veil of Summer. This is nice for that. Do we want to change anything? Do we want to bring back in the turtle? And take out the Lorien Revealed. Is that the greediest of all greed because we only have 21 lands and we definitely need the sorceries? Do we want to take out anything else? Subtlety, didn't see it. Let's just run it back. All right, well, we're in it. Despite our mistakes, we are on to one game, and down to one game for the win. This is a fairly good hand, I would say. We have a way to fill our yard, a bunch of fetch lands, a way to dig, and an answer, assuming they don't play a turn 1 Ragavan, which looks like they will. Turn 1 Ragavan every single game. That's nice. Okay, Dragon's Rage Chandler, also a good card. Oh, and the Meshro's Bauble, so they can dig for their wonderful, wonderful 1 and 2 drop cards. But we're going to have a potential turn 2. See what happens. See, if we were on the play this game and they tapped out like this, we would have had a turn 2 Murktide. They would have been 1 card away from Unholy Heat, though. Alright, good thing I didn't have 6 through that. Alright, so we're going to... We have the Thought Scour, we have the Preordain. What do we want to do here? We want to... preserve our life by getting an island. So we Thought Scour 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That gives us the best chance to cast a Murktide next turn, should they tap out. So what we're going to do there, oh man. Preordained to find us. Okay, I think what we're going to do is leave open our Stern Scolding that we don't have, but you know, pretend like we do. Bluff it. No Dash Ragavan, so that's nice. See if they counter this Thought Scour, because that, I mean, if I were them, I would think about it. Especially if I had a handful of counter spells. Subtlety is good. Thought Seize. Alright, that was a great Thought Scour, to be honest. We get to see the power of subtlety here. We want to start. We have access to black mana. We're going to save this Shielder's Edict. See what our opponent does. Have the counter magic ready to go. 2 turns away from the subtlety. Getting those 1/1 beats in. So they must have a handful of just counter spells. Missed a land drop. Must not have an expressive iteration. Another Murktide and a Fatal Push. That is pretty perfect for me. So what we're going to do, I mean, I hate to let them keep scrying. They don't have anything to cast, though, apparently. They flashing and dress down. Do we go ahead and do it? We want to go ahead and Fatal Push the Dragon's Rage Channeler. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Dash to Ragavan. That we could technically you do subtlety with, but we'd have to get rid of our counter spell. Digging for lands, I imagine. See how bad they can punish us for tapping out down to 1 land. Now we still have current Stern Scolding mana up and Spell Pierce that they don't realize we don't have either, of course, but maybe the bluff will work. And I mentioned in the deck tech how these games go long. I mean, we're into 35 minutes. We're going to be down, I'm down to 8 minutes. I got to play a little faster and talk maybe less, or think through my plays out loud less. Just go ahead and make them and tell you while I wait for the opponent. I think last game went to, oh, there we go. That's their, they've been waiting for this moment. Well, with nothing we can do about it, so we're going to have that land for Murktide Regent and Counterspell next turn. Yep. And we got all the heat. Will we be out of range? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will. We're drawing a Murktide that we know about. They're tapped out. Their shields are down. I mean, 7-7 versus 8-8. Is there a big difference? So we'll save a Fatal Push. I mean, it is a 2-turn clock, but we have a second one that we... Question is, do they have a subtlety of their own that they're going to run out to bounce it back to our hand? Yeah, we've yet to see our Adawaro, our Take Numa, or channel lands that are supposed to help us in these grindy games. Opponent really thinking over there. Remember, Izzet always has 2 answers, so I'm fully expecting a second answer here. They want to go ahead and chip in some damage. That would give it being dead to double bolt. I mean, it's painful, but I think we have to just take it here, and they know it. We could have done subtlety there, but, and another one. Well, I forgot to fetch at the end. So we could Shielder's Edict, get rid of 1, fill our yard with something. Always start getting too early, you know, the Flusterstorm here. I'm ready to counter the spell before the triggers. See if they have the counter magic to back it up. Looks like they do. So then the question is, do we want to Shielder's Edict, Veil of Summer? Okay, I guess they just want to draw a card. Or does this say their spells can't be countered? Spells you control can't be countered. Yeah, can't be countered. Veil of Summer, man. Really coming through for them. And that's why they're splashing green, I guess. Is there anything we can do about that? Guess not, except for casting another Murktide. Now we could before damage cast. Let's do this. Exile. I can't do it though. Man, I can't be targeted by spells or abilities. Oh man, what a brutal misplay that was. Should have done that in response to the Veil. That was really, really silly. Cards I've never played before, folks. Will I overcome all my misplays? I don't think so. Man, every game has been a misplay against one of the best decks in Modern. But I've never played Subtlety before. I still should have thought it through a little bit more. I'm a little distracted by talking through my plays. Clearly that should help me, but it's not. Oh man. Let's see if we can bounce back. We pitched our Murktide for no reason. Wow, what a brutal, brutal mistake. And their own Murktide is coming, so... Man, this has been an unfortunate turn of mistakes. No one to blame but myself. Modern is a hard format for people who don't play it enough. Should have done the subtlety in response. I should have thought it through before responding, and I am dead. What a terrible game. Would I have been able to, would I have not lost? Okay, so let's say if I'd done that the right way. Subtlety in response to Veil of Summer. Bounce the blocker to their hand. And then blah, 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 all that happens. Shielder's Edict, if I continue, Dragon's Rage Channeler is dead. Murktide Regent resolves at a 7/7. I draw a land with an even death Draco Lich. They have 3 cards in hand. I would have had my 7/7 Murktide to hold down the fort. Maybe force a block. Flash in the even death. Or maybe not force a block. Yeah, I mean, that was clearly a really bad mistake. I 2-for-1 myself, 2-for-0 myself essentially, because I didn't think through my play before clicking OK with the Veil of Summer. So yeah, that was a big mistake. That probably, I mean, certainly hurt me big time. I mean, they would have still had their 7/7 Murktide Regent, but that's all they would have had. And they would have had 3 cards. I would have had these 3. I mean, it's possible that we would have been able to go, they don't have a whole lot of action. I would have resolved the even death Draco Lich. They may not have blocked. I mean, it's possible that I might have been able to, you know, chain together a few draws, flash attacks to get there and sneak out the win. I do think that they're probably still advantaged, but man, what a brutal way to go. So lesson, folks, even when you're making a video and talking, just don't hit click OK until you've thought it all through, even if your time's ticking. And, you know, subtlety, first time playing it. I've played against Veil of Summer before, though, so I should have known better. Anyway, thanks for watching. That's match 1 of our league. Got a game there. Made a bunch of mistakes with my with this new version, but hopefully we'll be better next time. Thanks for watching. This is Johnny Cycles with Cycles Gaming.